We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping left the country, ending his two-day state visit here.
President Donald Trump vows to stick by ally Saudi Arabia, even while admitting that de facto leader Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman may have been behind the murder of a dissident journalist.
And skin and bones, 10-year-old Ghazi Saleh lies on a hospital bed in the southwestern Yemeni city of Taiz. Barely breathing, he only weighs 8 kilograms.
And Japanese authorities extend Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn's detention by 10 days as it emerges the car giant itself could face charges over the alleged financial misconduct that laid low its once loved leader.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. Chinese leader Xi Jinping left the Philippines on Wednesday, November 21, ending his two-day state visit in the country. Xi departed from the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 1 past 1 p.m. During his stay, Xi led a wreath-laying ceremony at the Rizal Monument in Luneta on Tuesday afternoon, just hours after he landed in Manila. President Xi and President Duterte witnessed the signing of 29 agreements that included a memorandum of understanding on oil and gas exploration. President Xi also met with legislators to strengthen what authorities described as parliamentary cooperation. President Xi was the first Chinese leader to embark on a state visit in the country after Hu Jintao, who did the same in 2005 under the administration of then-President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo.
Before leaving the country, the Chinese leader met with House Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Arroyo cited the importance of further deepening ties between the Philippines and China. Arroyo made the remark during a bilateral meeting of congressional leaders with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the Shangri-La at the Fort of Manila in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig City.
The relationship between China and the Philippines is very important for our countries. One reason is geography. Good relations between neighbors is always priority. A second reason is that China is increasingly involved not only in bilateral dealings but collectively, such as through ASEAN. A third reason is that China's economy is the most dynamic among the major nations. A fourth factor is that domestically, the Philippines is a vibrant Filipino-Chinese community for whom increased business dealings with China is very natural. And fifth, infrastructure will be very important for the Philippines in the coming years, and there is no country in the world that matches China's recent track record and capability in this area.
To the U.S. now, President Donald Trump vowed to stick by ally Saudi Arabia, even while admitting that de facto leader Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman may have been behind the brutal murder of a dissident journalist. It could very well be that the Crown Prince had knowledge of this tragic event. Maybe he did, and maybe he didn't, Trump said in a statement. Now, Saudi Arabia, he said, provides crucial help in the U.S. struggle to contain Iranian ambitions, as well as having committed to $450 billion in weapons contracts and other investments. In addition, Trump said the Saudis have helped in keeping oil prices low.
And I'm not going to tell a country that's spending hundreds of billions of dollars and has helped me do one thing very importantly, keep oil prices down so that they're not going to $100 and $150 a barrel. Right now, we have oil prices in great shape. I'm not going to destroy the world economy, and I'm not going to destroy the economy for our country by being foolish with Saudi Arabia.
Now, at the same time, the president acknowledged that the young crown prince may well have ordered the murder of Khashoggi, a prominent critic of Mohammed's policies who lived in Virginia and wrote columns for the Washington Post, while seeming to shrug off how much that mattered.
They didn't make a determination. And it's just like I said, I think it was great. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. They did not make that assessment. The CIA has looked at it, they've studied it a lot, they have nothing definitive. And the fact is, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We're not going to give up hundreds of billions of dollars in orders and let Russia, China, and everybody else have them. It's all about, for me, very simple. It's America first. Saudi Arabia, if we broke with them, I think your oil prices would go through the roof. I've kept them down. They've helped me keep them down. Right now we have low oil prices, or relatively. I'd like to see it go down even lower. But I think that it's a very simple equation for me. I'm about make America great again, and I'm about America first.
Khashoggi was killed October 2, soon after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to obtain documents he needed to remarry. The New York Times reported that the CIA definitively concluded Prince Mohammed bin Laden, or bin Salman rather, was involved. The Saudi royal has denied the claim.
Interpol announced Wednesday that Kim Jong-un of South Korea had been chosen as its new president, beating a Russian official whose candidacy had unnerved Western nations. The U.S.-backed Kim, acting president of the global police body, was picked at a meeting of delegates from member nations in Dubai to replace Meng Hongwei, who went missing in his native China in September. Beijing later said Meng resigned after being charged with accepting bribes. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo threw his weight behind Kim, who will serve out Meng's term until 2020.
You've seen that Interpol is electing a new president. It's an important organization. We strongly endorse Kim Jong-yang, who is serving as its acting president. We encourage all nations and organizations that are part of Interpol and that respect the rule of law to choose a leader with credibility and integrity that reflects one of the world's most critical law enforcement bodies. We believe Mr. Kim will be just that.
The Kremlin on Tuesday denounced interference in election for a new Interpol president after critics, including U.S. senators, objected to a Russian becoming chief of the global police body. This is interference in the election process of sorts. In the election to an international organization, President Vladimir Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, commenting on a statement from several U.S. senators. What else can you call it? This is a vivid example.
In other news, a U.S. federal judge temporarily blocked President Trump's administration from denying asylum to people who enter the country illegally, prompting the president to allege Tuesday that the court was biased against him. President Trump issued a proclamation earlier this month saying that only people who enter the U.S. at official checkpoints, as opposed to sneaking across the border, can apply for asylum, as a caravan of thousands of Central American migrants made its way north through Mexico. But U.S. District Judge John Teger in San Francisco issued a temporary restraining order against the Trump proclamation, thus granting a request from human rights groups that had sued shortly after the order was announced.
Pues yo creo que está bien porque sí les va a dar oportunidad obviamente para que ellos también están huyendo de un lugar, o sea, peligroso y para que se les dé la oportunidad de trabajar y de superarse, ¿verdad? Yo estoy de acuerdo que sí les den algún tipo de asilo.
Teger wrote that the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 states that any foreigner who arrives in the U.S., whether or not at a designated port of arrival, may apply for asylum. He said, quote, whatever the scope of the president's authority, he may not rewrite the immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. The judge's restraining order remains in effect until the court decides on the case.
Which policy?
Your asylum policy has been put on hold.
Well, you go to the Ninth Circuit, and it's a disgrace, and I'm going to put in a major complaint because you cannot win, if you're us, a case in the Ninth Circuit. And I think it's a disgrace when people file, every case gets filed in the Ninth Circuit because they know that's not law, that's not what this country stands for. Every case that gets filed in the Ninth Circuit, we get beaten, and then we end up having to go to the Supreme Court, like the travel ban, and we won. The Ninth Circuit, we're going to have to look at that because every case, no matter where it is, they file it practically. I mean practically, for all intents and purposes. They file it in what's called the Ninth Circuit. This was an Obama judge, and I'll tell you what, it's not going to happen like this anymore. Everybody that wants to sue the United States, they file their case in they file their case in the Ninth Circuit. And it means an automatic loss, no matter what you do, no matter how good your case is. And the Ninth Circuit is really something we have to take a look at because it's not fair. People should not be allowed to immediately run to this very friendly circuit and file their case. And you people know better than anybody what's happening. It's a disgrace. In my opinion, it's a disgrace what happens with the Ninth Circuit. We will win that case in the Supreme Court of the United States.
With nearly 3,000 migrants staying in a shelter in the Mexican border town of Tijuana, waiting on their migration process to go through, a Mexican official says the resources to take care of them all are slowly dwindling.
¿Quieres comida?
Estamos con una proyección de 10 días poder estar en esta situación. Entonces, ahorita, en este momento, ellos tienen un proceso legal de migración de internación hacia otro país que llevará sus tiempos, pero nosotros tenemos la responsabilidad de estar atendiéndolos.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Stay tuned.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7:30 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga.
Tungkulin ng MTRCB ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Immortality parents. Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Grabe, rated SPG, maselan! Ipitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
Welcome back. Skin and bones, 10-year-old Ghazi Saleh lies on a hospital bed in the southwestern Yemeni city of Taiz, barely breathing, and he only weighs 8 kilograms. Take a look. Starving and too weak to move or even cry, Ghazi can only look down at his emaciated body as he struggles to keep his eyes open. Some 14 million Yemenis are at risk of famine more than 4 years into the country's war. At Al Mudaffar Hospital, where Ghazi is being treated, medics go from one bed to another to check on malnourished children, including infants. Eman Ali, a nurse at the hospital, said that Ghazi suffers from acute malnutrition. While some doctors and nurses weighed children, others tried to feed the young patients through syringes as they have become too weak to swallow. Cases of malnourished children have become a reflection of the health system in Yemen, where children bear the brunt of the war between the Saudi-backed government and the Iran-allied Houthi rebels. As many as 85,000 infants under the age of 5 may have died from starvation or disease since 2015 in war-ravaged Yemen, according to humanitarian organization Save the Children. The UN also warned last month that up to 14 million Yemenis are on the brink of famine. It's trying to revive talks to end a 3-year war, which has caused the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Yemen has been devastated by the conflict. Fighting escalated in 2015 when a Saudi-led coalition launched an air campaign against the Houthi rebel movement, which had forced President Abdrabbuh Mansur Hadi to flee abroad.
The World Health Organization said 107 of Yemen's 303 districts are at risk of famine, with some 220,000 people facing severe acute malnutrition. Yasmin is only 8 months old. She lies in Al-Thawra Hospital in Hodeidah. Like many of the severely malnourished children in this hospital, she doesn't cry. Her little body is lethargic and feeble. It lacks the energy to cry. In this WHO-supported clinic, WHO-supported clinic, severely malnourished children find help. The most critical cases are those who are not only malnourished, but also have medical complications like respiratory tract infections, severe anemia, dehydration, and no appetite. They are the sickest of the sick.
The ongoing conflict in Yemen has led to food insecurity in the country. Many people do not have access to enough food and to the right types of food. At the same time, there are outbreaks of diseases, infections such as cholera, measles, malaria, pneumonia, and the combination of these two factors has led to widespread undernutrition in the country. In Yemen, you see all the forms of undernutrition, but those at highest risk of dying are, of course, those with severe acute malnutrition with medical complications, who need immediate treatment and who need to be admitted into a hospital setting or clinic, who need 24-hour care, specialized nutritional and medical care. So those are at the highest risk. But all forms of undernutrition need to be addressed and are seen in Yemen.
Millions of Yemenis are facing starvation. Between hunger and death, there is almost always disease. Thousands of undernourished people are dying of diarrhea, pneumonia, and measles.
In Yemen, there is the complicating factor of children who are severely acutely malnourished, who also have cholera. So there's an overlap between cholera and severe acute malnutrition. And this is a double risk for the child because they're two very complex conditions that need to be treated. And this has an an additional risk of mortality for the children with severe acute malnutrition.
Now, the crisis at Nissan deepens as it emerges the Japanese car giant could itself face charges over the alleged financial misconduct that led to the stunning arrest of its chairman, Carlos Ghosn. Monday's arrest of the millionaire auto tycoon, who is credited with turning around the Nissan-Renault-Mitsubishi Motors alliance, sent shockwaves through the global car sector and corporate Japan. The Asahi Shimbun Daily said that Tokyo prosecutors believe Nissan also has a case to answer in the underreporting of Ghosn's package by about 5 billion yen over 4 years. Nissan Representative Director Greg Kelly was also arrested for his involvement in the acts. Sources say Kelly may have ordered other executives to tamper with the company's financial reports to conceal the huge amounts actually paid.
木曜日に、代表権、そして会長職を解くことを提案して、承認すべく、私が取締役会を招集をする予定でございます。これですね、やはり長年にわたるゴーン統治のその負の側面と言わざるを得ません。43% の株を持っているルノーのトップが日産トップを兼任するということはですね、やっぱりあまりにもガバナンス上、一人に権限が集中しすぎることは問題だと。これだけが原因でおいて、これはやっぱり一つ誘因だというふうに思いますので。
Now, public broadcaster NHK reported that Nissan had paid huge sums to provide Ghosn with luxury homes in Rio de Janeiro, Beirut, Paris, and Amsterdam without any legitimate business reason. Ghosn's fate appears all but sealed after his hand-picked replacement as CEO, Hiroto Saikawa, launched an astonishing broadside at his mentor, saying too much authority had been placed in his hands and lamenting the dark side of the Ghosn era. However, in France, Renault said it was sticking with the fallen manager as chief executive, although it named Chief Operating Officer Thierry Bolloré as deputy CEO, handing him the same powers as the temporarily incapacitated Ghosn.
Si ces faits qui sont reprochés à M. Ghosn étaient avérés, ce serait d'une gravité considérable. Dissimuler, frauder le fisc, c'est d'une gravité d'autant plus considérable qu'on a une position élevée et un salaire très élevé. Je rappelle que j'avais demandé d'ailleurs et obtenu la réduction du salaire de M. Carlos Ghosn de 30% parce que je jugeais ce salaire totalement excessif. Que j'ai appris cette nouvelle, nous avons, avec Gérald Darmanin, demandé à nos services de vérifier la situation fiscale de M. Carlos Ghosn en France. Je ne vais pas donner plus de détails puisque ces éléments sont couverts par le secret fiscal. Sans entrer dans le détail,
c'est évidemment un secret, il payait ses impôts.
The man chosen to temporarily replace fallen auto star Carlos Ghosn at Renault is an industry insider with many years of experience working in Asia. Thierry Bolloré, a 55-year-old father of 5, has been declared deputy CEO to ensure day-to-day management following Ghosn's stunning arrest in Tokyo on charges of underreporting his pay at Nissan. Before his temporary elevation to the top of Renault, Bolloré was the French car giant's chief operating officer, a position he was promoted to in February in a move widely seen at the time as Ghosn anointing his successor. In many ways, the two men began with similar career trajectories. Like Ghosn, Bolloré was first spotted as a rising talent at Michelin before he switched to a car manufacturer and made his way into the top ranks. Resentment has long been brewing in Japan over the structure of the alliance, which some say gives French carmaker Renault an undue share of the Japanese company's profits. Renault currently owns 43% of Nissan, while Nissan only owns 15% of Renault.
In other news, a group of up to 100 security personnel in Papua New Guinea forced their way into parliament to demand unpaid wages just days after world leaders attended a regional summit in the nation, the APEC summit. Echo Hortaleza Quinola reports from Papua New Guinea.
special report here in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, where joint security forces stormed the Parliament House while having their session. Joint security forces attacked the Parliament House while members of the Parliament are sitting and holding their session. This cruel act is due to not being paid for their APEC allowances held last week. They demand for the immediate release of their pay. Doors, chairs, windows were wrecked and some Parliament officers were punched and assaulted. The joint security forces confronted the Speaker of the House and the Finance Minister, and they were promised to have an open line of communications at the Surgeon Guy Stadium this day. APEC CEO Chris Hawkins will also go over this case. They will have an urgent meeting to adjust Point Forces security's sentiments.
Well, members of the opposition were in our shadow minister meeting and started to destroy property throughout Parliament. So the situation here is quite tense. Police are on site to protect members of the staff of Parliament. Numerous staff of Parliament were assaulted during this confrontation. So right now, those that were expressed their grievances or stormed Parliament have actually exited Parliament, and they're waiting in the front of Parliament, and they want to be addressed by the government as to why they haven't received their allowances.
Opportunists are taking advantage of this situation, looting malls and other establishments. As of now, Port Moresby seems quiet, but information have been received that armed forces are planning to mobilize and return. We will keep you posted. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, this is Echo Hortaleza Quinola, and I am one with 25.
Thank you, Echo. Take care of yourselves. Meanwhile, Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
This famous rock formation is a great place to witness sunrise and sunsets. You can set up a picnic blanket and hang out with your friends or family here at the beach. For more stuff like this, tune in to EBC Digital Nest. I'm Rio, and I'm one with 25.
For business news, this is Cesar Vallejos. The Philippine peso remained firm against the US dollar Wednesday, but the Philippine Stock Exchange Index ended its 5-day winning streak in sympathy reaction to US markets. The local currency managed to finish the day at 52.35 from 52.39 Tuesday. A trader said the peso was able to remain strong amid the slide of local equities. The peso opened the trade at 52.49, little change from the 52.53 start in the previous session. Its closing level is the unit's strongest for the day after it dipped to 52.61. Average level for the day stood at 52.5. The National Food Authority disclosed that it is poised to award the contracts for the import of 500,000 metric tons of rice to 5 Asian suppliers, the first half of which is expected to arrive not later than December 31 this year. The 5 traders with bid offers lower than NFA's reference price of $470 per MTR, Singapore's Olam International, Thailand's Asia Golden Rice, Myanmar's Swewayong Agriculture Production Company, Thai Capital Crops, and Vietnam's Tan Lung Group Joint Stock Company. NFA Deputy Administrator for Marketing Operations Judy Carol Dansal told reporters Tuesday that the NFA Bid and Awards Committee would evaluate this week the post-qualification documents submitted by these suppliers with the lowest bid offers. Under the terms of reference, Dansal noted that the first half, or 250,000 metric tons of 25% broken, well-milled long-grains white rice should be delivered not later than December 31. The remaining half should arrive in the country not later than January 31 next year. The 10 branches of BPI Direct Banco nationwide will start accepting unfit currency starting December 3, 2018 as part of the bank's partnership with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to jointly promote coins recirculation and the Clean Notes program. These are its branches in Cubao, Quezon City, Balanga Bataan, Dagupan, Pangasinan, Legazpi, Albay, Calapan, Mindoro, Puerto Princesa, Palawan, Dumaguete, Negros Oriental, Rojas City, Capiz, Valencia, Bukidnon, and Digos, Davao del Sur branches. Under this program, both the BPI Banco account holders and non-account holders can exchange with their bank their BSP-issued coins and paper bills that are already unfit for transactions, or those that have been torn, drenched, crumpled, or that have writings and spilled substances over the original prints. Rod Mabiasen, Bangko Micro Enterprise Loans head, said they decided to introduce this program since they are regularly in touch with the people who normally use the actual currencies. He is referring to the owners of micro and small businesses who are the target market of the Ayala-led Bank of the Philippine Island subsidiary. Mabiasen said that the amount of the incentive should not exceed 10% of the amount of money to be swapped. BPI Banco is initially allocating 50,000 pesos for each of the 10 banks for the currency exchange program, and Mabiasen said they will increase the amount as needed. Chinese steel manufacturer Panhua Group formally signed a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Trade and Industry, the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, and the PHVDEC Industrial Authority for its $3.5 billion investment in the Philippines, which includes the establishment of an integrated steel mill. The MOU was signed on Tuesday while Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Manila on a state visit. The signing of this MOU is a testament to the strengthened relations between Philippines and China. A completely private undertaking, Panhua is set to accomplish President Rodrigo Duterte's vision of growing the integrated iron and steel industry so it can cater to the growing domestic and external market demand, said DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez. Banwa reportedly scouted for a suitable location for its steel mill before settling for a 305-hectare area in the PVDEC industrial estate located within the Misamis Oriental Special Economic Zone. According to the DTI, Banwa's investment plan involves an integrated steel manufacturing plant with a capacity of 10 million metric tons, downstream industries, an industrial park, and a port. This will come in 3 phases, which is expected to be completed in 6 to 7 years and is projected to create 50,000 jobs in the country. Globe Telecom is now offering the iPhone XR, bringing the latest iPhone innovations to more people at Globe stores nationwide. Globe customers can choose from 6 colors: blue, coral, yellow, white, black, and red, and 3 storage capacity, 64, 128, and 256 gigabytes. Make great strides toward plans with an iPhone XR powered by the plan. Grab the latest model in the 2018 iPhone series for only $2,899. Creating and sharing your favorite moments just got easier with a 256 memory capacity and new A12 Bionic chipset of iPhone XR, plus the plan's 11 data. Unwind and enjoy premium entertainment on iPhone XR's legendary display with free 6-month subscriptions to Amazon Prime Video and
that's a new
Disney
sensor
Live.
as well, a 7-megapixel sensor that's twice as fast.
The global economy has peaked and faces a slowdown driven by international trade tensions and tighter monetary conditions, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development warned Wednesday. The OECD, which groups the top developed economies, said it had trimmed its growth forecast for 2019 to 3.5% from the previous 3.7%. The 2018 estimate was left unchanged at 3.7%. For 2020, the global economy should grow 3.5%, it said in a latest economic outlook report. It said the further slowdown in 2020 is more a reflection of developments in advanced economies as lower trade and lower fiscal and monetary support take their toll. OECD Chief Angel Gurria highlighted problems caused by the trade conflicts and political uncertainty, an apparent reference to U.S. President Donald Trump's standoff with China, which has roiled the markets. The market for sneakers is booming, driven by millennial demand and a strategic business approach by the major players. It is expected to reach more than $95 billion by 2025. The break room hosts Ken Palad had a chance to talk to Antonio Aguirre Jr., founder and CEO of Soul Slam Incorporated, and discussed the aspect of turning his personal collection of sneakers into a thriving resale business. Ken Palad reports.
This is Ken from the Break Room on Net 25. And today we have with us the CEO of Soul Slam, Mr. Antonio Aguirre Jr.
Knowing what your market wants by showing them something they haven't seen yet or makes them unique will make an impact on how your business will go on.
Not everyone that owns a sneaker collection can flip their items and turn it into a legit business. Maybe they can sell a few pairs here and there, but that's about it. So what does it take to actually turn a collection into an actual business?
For me, I think being able to supply the demand that is not available locally, like for example, shoes that are not available here in the Philippines, be made available to people. I think successful resellers are able to do that, and to be able to supply those that with low supply. Like for example, shoes that are so sought after here, but they only release like 100 pairs of those. Like for example, Yeezys. There's only, for example, before there were only like 100 pairs released in one store and locally. So that's when you turn to resellers that actually are able to have connections in other countries and bring them over here. You know, and that's really the resale market. I believe those are the real resellers for me. I mean, everyone can be a reseller, but it takes one to be able to have connections outside of the country to be able to purchase some things for other people, and that's why that's what I love about resellers. And you know, they're not the enemy. You know, they're part of us. You know, and I feel like it's one thing that we need to educate people that, you know, not to hate resellers because they actually help the culture, to be honest, more than hurt it.
That's Ken Palad reporting. Break Room airs every Monday, 7:30 to 8 p.m. That's it for Business News. This is Cesar Vallejos, and I'm Juan with 25. Eagle News International will be back. Keep watching.
Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
A sperm whale has been found dead in Indonesia with about 6 kilos of plastic waste in its stomach, throwing the spotlight on the country's trash problem. Watch this.
Harus pakai karung ini. Astaga, jaring itu bukan? Bukan, tali rasa tengah. Tolong agak bang. Ikan paus. Kasih rata deh. Diatur kan. Nih, botol, gelas-gelas, penutup galon.
Meanwhile, the death toll from the devastating wildfire in Northern California rose to 81, with the discovery of 2 more sets of remains, according to officials. The number of people listed as unaccounted for in the deadliest and most destructive fire in the state history, jumped up by nearly 200 to 870. This number has been fluctuating a lot in recent days amid the confusion of the search for bodies in the town of Paradise, which was largely destroyed by the flames. The figure peaked Saturday at 1,276 and on Monday was down to 699. Now the number has gone back up after police worked through a backlog of voice calls, according to Butte County Sheriff Cory Honea. Now, another 3 people died in a second major blaze that struck Malibu in Southern California. In the north, the so-called Camp Fire has scored 152,000 acres of land and destroyed more than 12,600 homes. It started on November 8 and is only now 75% contained. And officials are now bracing for significant rain on Wednesday and perhaps later in the week, which will help put out the fire, but could bring flash floods, turning ash and soot into a thick paste and possibly washing away human remains.
The album of lip-top artist and Pinas FM 95.5 Rapido was successfully launched at the recent concert of Pinas FM during the EBC Fun Run at the Philippine Arena. Rapido is also the first artist to introduce E25 Records. E25 Records is a music label that has recently launched by, or was recently launched by EBC to support local Filipino artists.
Taos puso ako nagpapasalamat sa E25 Records dahil po sa pagbibigay sa akin ng bagong pintuan upang mas lalo kong maibahagi po yung aking nalalaman pagdating sa pagsusulat ng kanta at pagpe-perform po o bilang isang artist po. Dahil napakalaking pagkakataon at opportunity po ang binigay sa akin ito. Una sa lahat, although maraming pagkakataon, maraming paraan para may kalat natin ang ating mga awitin at mga obra. Pero etong E25 Records, malaking tulong to upang mas lalong nasa ayos at nasa magkaroon ng magandang kalagayan po yung mga ginagawa nating mga musika.
Ang E25 Records po ay ang record label ng EBC at ito po ay naitatag upang magkaroon ng avenue ang mga up and coming artists natin, yung mga composers, mga singers na magkaroon sila ng avenue para maipakita yung kanilang mga talento sa paglikha ng awit at sa pag-awit, sa pagre-record. Kaya't ito ay minarapat na ilunsad para mabigyan ng pagkakataon. Hindi lamang yung mga up and coming, pati na rin yung mga may pangalan na rin na artists, na mga composers na gusto ring sumama sa E25 Records. Kaya't ngayon pa lang ay inaanyayahan namin ang lahat po ng may kakayahan na sumulat, lumikha ng awit at mag-produce ng mga awit para mailabas hindi lamang sa radyo, mailabas online. Ang music po na ating kinikater ay pati na rin ang mga music na gagamitin sa film, lahat po ng music requirements, yun po ay open sa E25 Records.
Hindi na mababalik, ako ay pagmasdan, muli ng nalalabing, nais kang makaganda, sino mo halin, tamang may pagtutol, malayang baliwalain ang oras na tinukol, paano na, kinabukasan, kinabukasan, ay wala ka na.
Rapido's latest music video, Walang Hanggang, Dito na Lang, with Ira, was also featured.
A young Filipina harpist shares her passion for music and her love for church. Alan Basaliaje from our EBC Los Angeles Bureau reports.
It's just another typical start of the day for 22-year-old Danielle Yuson. A quick breakfast, a once-over in the mirror, then it's out the door. But waiting for her on the other side is what makes her story one of note.
So we just made it to, I don't know, Newark Penn Station apparently. And we're gonna take the subway to, where are we going?
New York!
Yes,
New
right.
York, New York, New York.
Danielle's journey to the Big Apple started from, of all places, on a chair and with a harp. Her love of the arts would eventually land her a position in the Iglesia Ni Cristo's oratorio to be held at the famed Lincoln Center in New York. The oldest child of Art and Janice Yuson, Danielle, along with her two siblings, learned to appreciate music at an early age.
Me and my husband wanted to have a firstborn, a girl. When we had our kids, we didn't think that they're gonna be playing instruments at all. But when I grew up as a choir, and I wanted to be an organist, but I never had a chance. So before I had my family, and I told to myself, if my kids wanted to play an instrument or to be an organist in the choir, I would support them.
But it's still this finger itself. So we're gonna start here, and then that one, and that one.
Can you do that
and
individually?
We'll kind of trade it off, yeah.
Having done everything in her power to help, Danielle decided to retire from teaching, but still graciously allowed me to ask her a few parting questions.
Since not a lot of people play harp and they see me actually playing, or even just seeing me rolling around the harp, they kind of gasp. First of all, they're like, "Oh, it's the harp," and there are its pros and cons. Definitely, I like being able to show people, the harp exists. It's not like a super old instrument that no one plays anymore, but also it makes me a little bit shy because everyone's staring at me like lugging around this giant instrument. Through the church, we were able to be granted this opportunity, and it makes us all the more strive to perfect ourselves and strive to keep practicing and to do better, because we want to live up to the name of the Lincoln Center, of Geffen Hall, to be able to represent the Church of Christ as musicians. Since I've been exposed to other harpists, I know I have so much more to improve on, but it definitely takes a lot of practice, a lot of love, and a lot of sacrifice. It is my faith that the talent I have, any talent that I might have, is definitely a talent given to me by God. So of course, if any opportunity provided by the church administration comes up for me to use this talent, of course I would do my best to be able to use my talent in serving. So I want to be able to play for a bigger purpose, and when it comes to performing for more known venues, for a bigger audience, to be able to make the church known that, this is where my inspiration, my faith comes from. And I want you all to know that this exists.
For Danielle, this trip is her first time on the East Coast. And while the sparkle of the big city might be alluring to others, she is decidedly set on keeping her identity, uninterested in changing the core parts of her character, not even for a New York minute. Alan Basoyahe for Eagle News. I am one with 25.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Alma Angeles, and
we're one with 25.